I remember when I was about maybe 7 years old, I'd be lying in my bed at night and my mom would come in and she would pull out a Bug's Life storybook. We would read it together and I'd be sitting there watching her read it, then I'd read it myself. At that time, I had a pretty large and varied vocabulary and I could read some pretty high-level stuff, but I never truly understood the story. I wasn't really involved with it. See, that all changed when I was about 8 years old. Halo 2 had just come out, and I'd heard about video games for a long time, especially the Halo games. I begged my parents, and I pushed them to the edge, and finally got me an Xbox, and by Christmas time I actually got one. We weren't the richest people, we didn't have much money, but I cherished the Xbox because it was mine. I really wanted Halo 2 because I had heard so much about Halo 1. I knew Halo 2 was going to have multiplayer, and I thought at the time, how cool! I wanted to play online so bad, so again I begged my parents and ended up getting Halo 2. I played it for the first time and I knew it wasn't something that I was expecting. I played through the game and it was difficult. I wasn't prepared. Before then I'd only been playing Crash Bandicoot or games like that on the PS2. I wasn't prepared for the difficulty, the change, but most of all what I wasn't prepared for was the story. I watched it. I became a part of it. I not only interacted with it, I was a part of the story. It really connected with me and it made me appreciate this new technology. By the end of the game, I was completely hooked. I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that I was a part of something, that there was a storyline that I was actually interested in. Halo 2 is truly where it all began. And my love of storytelling, it evolved drastically from there. I spent the next couple of years playing a lot of games, and I really enjoyed them. During that time, games were transitioning to the multiplayer stage, but I wasn't so much a part of that. I mean, I really liked multiplayer, but that wasn't the main reason why I enjoyed the games. I liked them for the canon. I liked them for the campaign. I would play games just to see what would happen with the characters, much like a book. It seems that after I started playing the games, I also started reading more books, and my comprehension level shot through the roof. When I was 8 or 9 years old, I was reading higher-level books, college-level books, and I comprehended them. It wasn't like I was just reading them and seeing words on paper. I understood the story. I personally fell in love with H.G. Wells when I was only 9 years old, and I read all of his books in that first year. After reading all of his major novels, I fell in love with sci-fi. I loved that feeling of story and adventure, that mystery, and I started to appreciate character development through stories. From there, my love for stories blossomed, and by the time I was 10, that's when it really hit high water. That's when I started watching animes and I started reading mangas. It's kind of funny because in my youth, one of the major cultural phenomena was Pokemon. Everybody watched it. Not only did everybody watch Pokemon, but everybody played Pokemon. I played a little bit of Pokemon, mostly Red and Blue, but I hadn't watched the series at all, and it was interesting. Because I had started to get into anime. They weren't exactly heard of animes. They were obscure, not well known. The animes I watched were series that, over in Japan, you'd see on a Saturday morning. It wasn't something that everybody here in America knew about. It was something very hidden and very culturally based in Japan. During that one summer, I watched nearly 60 series of anime and just devoured them. I understood their story, and if I didn't, I would research them. I'd look them up to try to figure out why they were funny. Why were they culturally different? I looked up, I researched so that I personally could understand. By the end of that summer, I really gained an appreciation of the Japanese culture, because I could understand the different aspects of their religion, of their respect, of their history, of their humor. I was really enjoying the sense of story and storytelling. My love of storytelling came full circle by 2010. By then I was a full Halo nerd, and it came back to video games. Halo Reach had just come out, so I went out and I purchased the game and I brought it back and experienced it. I played the game and it was amazing to see a story like this. Something like this had never been done before. I'd seen things similar to it, but not quite the same. During this game you play as Noble 6. You're a faceless hero, it's a classic video game cliche. It makes you feel more involved. and it makes you feel more connected to the character. It makes you feel like you are the main character. With that, you're introduced to 5 other characters, and they're all main characters that you battle with throughout the entire game. You spend a good 8 hours getting to know these characters, getting to know who they are, and then near about the last fifth of the game, these characters just start to get killed, one by one. You're forced to witness all these main characters that you've grown to love, killed, and there's nothing you can do. You knew before you bought the game, you knew it was coming, and you didn't want it to happen. You knew that everybody dies on the planet Reach. The only person to survive is John 117, who is Master Chief, the main character of the main Halo series. However, you're not playing as John, you're playing as Noble 6. At the very end of the game, something happens which, storytelling-wise, I don't think I've ever seen done in a movie, because I don't think it could be done in a movie. I've never seen this done in a book. I've only seen it done in a video game. You're put in a firefight mission at the very end of the game. You're stuck on this planet, and you're put in an area where you have limited ammo, limited ability, and an unlimited number of enemies that come in and progressively become more difficult to defeat. It's interesting because you literally lose. The game makes you lose all hope of surviving. I, myself, have never seen something like this done before. This story hits you on your own personal level. It basically says, no, you are not going to win this. You are going to lose. This is where you die. And you do. It's just so impactful because you have to personally accept your own mortality by the end of the game. I love storytelling across all mediums. I honestly do. Video games, movies, books, TV shows, any kind of storytelling. I love storytelling because there are so many different ways you can do it. Stories can be told by going incredibly in depth through books. Stories can be done where the audience has an emotional response because of character qualities through movies. Or stories can interact with your own emotions like video games. It was at that point, after completing Reach, that I decided I wanted to go into directing. Maybe film directing, maybe TV show directing, maybe video game directing. Who knows? There's so many different mediums that are now opening up to direct and to express my love of storytelling. I'm very excited about this because I hope that maybe one day a little 8-year-old kid will be watching something, reading something, or playing something that I directed, and will get the same sensational love for storytelling that I did when I was 8.